Welcome to Rediscovering Childhood, the space where we have meaningful conversations that help us rethink how we parent and teach in a more conscious way. If you've ever watched your child shut down when it's time to learn, if you've seen the excitement drain from their eyes when homework starts, or if you're wondering why your bright, curious kid suddenly says things like, "I hate school," this conversation is going to change everything. Today, I'm speaking with Robert Ahdoot, founder of yaymath.org and author of One-on-One, The Art of Inspired and Effective Individual Instruction. Robert is a math teacher who spent nearly 20 years discovering the specific ways to make learning come alive through meaningful human connection. That's the key of everything. His work has been viewed 2 million minutes per month. He's given multiple TEDx talks, and his book has been adopted by school districts as a blueprint for creating transcendent teacher-student relationships. But here's what matters most for you as parent or educator. Robert is going to share the straightforward conditions that make children excited to learn. You're going to walk away from this conversation knowing exactly how to honor your child's voice, create the conditions where learning feels joyful, and understand that what children need for optimal learning is simpler than you think. So very welcome to the podcast, Robert.
Thank you, Mireya. Thank you for having me so much. What an introduction. That was nice. You must have scoured the internet.
Yes, I did.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask you something. You know, when we say to kids, just joking, say a birthday party and we're about to have cake, and we do this joke where we say, "Oh, we're not having cake, we're having broccoli," because we think broccoli is the thing kids hate the most. We just generalize that. So when it comes to school, it's usually maths, and say the least loved subject is maths. Why? What's about maths that's not with PE or physical education? Or what's about maths that's it's that concept of everybody hates maths?
Right. That's a nice comparison about, hey, we're having broccoli. I want to just put a quick caveat on that example because it's only recent, something that I've really been thinking about within the past 2 years, after all these years, 20 years of doing this work, is that there are some kids that really like broccoli and there are some kids that really like math. And by doing this sweeping talk like, hey, we're having broccoli, or, oh, you must really think math is hard, it may actually be a detriment to those students that are really passionate about learning. We have to keep those students in our minds. We have to keep thinking about how their view is important instead of this generalized thing, broccoli and math and all these things that are just generalized things. The fundamental point you're making is correct, however, that there is this malaise or stigma with math learning. I wonder if it has something to do with the deep logical thought that it requires. It's foreign for a lot of people to think in these ways. I was doing a little thought experiment with a neighbor. This was years ago. And we saw 2 people on rollerblades and then a person on a bike. And I asked the child, and her father was there, said, "How many wheels do you see?" And the kid was like, sitting down, like didn't want to do it. And you could see the dad had this misplaced embarrassment. It was just a quick question. It was supposed to be fun. Like, how can you count the wheels that are turning? What would it be? You'd have to do this process. See how I look up into the air? It's like 2 people, each foot has 4 wheels. So that's 8 wheels per person, times 2 is 16. And then a bike is 2 more, so 18. See, as the adult, as the math professional, I had to actually pause, and that's work. That's challenging. And if you're a little child with all these different sources of stimulation and requirements, expectations, I think it's difficult. I think that's the big part of it. But once they see the joy, lots of things they do in life that are difficult are amazing. They just have to see their place in it. And they haven't seen that. And that gets to the heart of your question. They haven't seen how they can do it well, something so difficult.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really like the point you made about the broccoli and the maths, because my own kids actually love broccoli. I hate broccoli. They love broccoli. When you say that, they nearly think, what's wrong with me? that I like broccoli when I'm not supposed to like broccoli. I'm not
Right.
supposed to like maths because only like cool kids don't like maths. So what's wrong with me? So
Yeah.
it has that bit of self-consciousness as well, that it's important to know what language, be aware of the language we use and avoid saying things like that.
Yeah. In our attempts to help, we
Yeah.
don't want to go too far and to shortchange those people that are already on a great path, because it could be really counterproductive and they would start to diminish their own light, their own joy inside. You are an educator. I've watched a lot of your content, and I know how enthusiasm is really important to you when you're up in front of the kids. And that is a really important catch-all. We can be enthusiastic about helping the students that need the help, and also reserve that enthusiasm for the people who love it already. It's a great way to reach everyone. And I know I've seen that you've done that in your work, especially when you're in front of smaller kids.
Yeah.
I could see that's evidence that you understand that. And so, yeah, too bad about the broccoli thing. Maybe maybe seasonings or something, or what?
Yeah, there's always a way to make it better, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And it would be the same with maths, using resources and using things that they can touch and help them understand. I think that would be the seasoning on the maths. It's not using notebooks,
Nice.
it's using resources.
Right. Yeah. You making it fun, making, if there's an people have done the app Dragon Box with a lot of success. It's teaching algebra without really teaching algebra. Things like that make it come alive. And you're right. There are so many different types. So the way to cook the broccoli, quote unquote, right? Because raw can be very difficult, but if you boil it down and make it soft, then your palate can grow. Look what you've done.
Yeah.
You've turned the metaphor into life. Yeah,
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 I
you're
think
right.
so,
They call them.
so yeah.
It's true. Like how you prepare it and how you present it, I think is really big. And to your point before we were online about, the school system in Ireland, you were mentioning that a lot of times people are stuck in the past and they'll only serve raw, uncut broccoli, like of just big stalk. Here, eat it like an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
Open up and do it every day for 55 minutes. And it's a wonder that they're not opening wide. So there you go.
Yeah. What's the to find kind of like something, you need to find the purpose of it. So what would be how would you sell that to children? What's the need? Like my son wants to be a footballer, and he hates maths.
Yeah.
So it's something we're working on, and as you mentioned, and I'd like to touch on that again about why he says he hates maths.
Yeah.
But what I said to him is, if you start liking and using and then understanding maths, you can use it to your own advantage. And being a footballer, you can calculate how far, how strong the direction of your ball, how many people are watching in the audience, how, all these things. It's maths everywhere. So how do you, when you're working with children in the classroom, how do you present that, the real life use of maths that's not just to pass a test?
That's the exact question. And pursuing this answer is risky for kids, for us, because we run the risk of overselling when they're too young and not ready. And they'll feel like you're trying to sell them
Mm.
a bad car, and then the walls will go up. We all know the feeling of being sold on something. And the metaphor that I always helps me with regards to conveying something that's beautiful to people who may not be ready is that I'm standing on my side of the street with an ice cream cone and smiling. And it's invitational. It's an invitational energy, as opposed to a kid may or may not care about the trajectory of a ball when you kick it. It doesn't matter. But eventually the student might, or the kid, let's say the teen, would be interested in, well, how much would a footballer make if the crowd is 65,000, each ticket costs 25 to 125 euro? How much goes to the team? Oh, you'd have to think of a percentage. So there's that, like, that would be interesting. What percent would I get based on um, the views for a TikTok, or let's
Yeah.
say
Money is
advertising
way more
campaign?
appealing.
Yeah, let's say a money thing. Exactly. Or yeah, what money is also great, but you're right. It does get stale. We have to think more creative than that. that could be a great inroad to that. And I think of it as more of biding time, of just waiting them out and not overselling. I had this one student in the class, he was just not into the math, and I didn't blame him. We're doing algebra and geometry, of course. And he had this long floppy hair, you're just like, oh, Mr. Dude, it's like, he was a lovely boy, but he was just sort of disconnected. But there's just this kind of, I couldn't get through to him, and nor did he want to be gotten through to with all this hair and everything. I'd run into him when he was 19, 20 years old. I ran into him, I'm like, Mitch, what's up, man? And his hair was completely like kind of shaved, like he did a crew cut and everything. Like, what's going on? What are you doing? And he told me about this hotel management program out of UNLV. And it's the hotel that you learn is connected to the university. And it's like a 19-month program. And you learn everything about managing a hotel. And he was so passionate about that. And so I couldn't convey how amazing that path would be for him. He discovered this thing, and now he wants to do what we call hospitality, right? That's the industry. So I wouldn't have to say a thing about how much math would be required in that field, like the number of rooms, the number of employees, the percentages, how much supplies you need to order. I haven't thought this through. I'm just riffing on all the ways that he would need math. I'm filling out order forms, online work, troubleshooting on the phone. So I was just biding my time. I never undermined his feelings. I never oversold him. I helped him as much as possible. Just ice cream cone, smile. Like, this is nice. I didn't want to turn him off. If I couldn't turn him on, at least I'd just try not to turn him off. And over time, those seeds that, let's say me, his parents, his other teachers plant, pave the way so that he doesn't have a distaste for math overall. And then he could jump in, and for the majority of his life, he would be doing math. And so it's a victory for him.
Absolutely. That's a great example as well. And it's probably because it became a game for him. He was interested in what he was learning. There was a purpose, and it became a game. How do I do this? How do I do that?
Right. Which was so different from when he was a student. With the student, he was just doing minimal effort, less than minimal. It was like we had to have talks with the parents. Like, hey, you got to do your work. How can I help you? You can come see me if you need help. I know it's hard, but there was a completely different person in the span of 5 years. Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. And again, all the seeds that you're planting, you don't see them growing. You're just watering them until then someday you can see them in the surface. How do
Yeah.
you bring more playfulness into the classroom?
I mean, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to say some teachers think that responsibility and respect don't go with playfulness. And if I play too much, I'll become like a clown, and then kids won't respect me. So how do we combine the both?
Right. It's a fair balance to strike, to think of that. I think having clear expectations is important. I think when those expectations are being communicated is not a time to play. This is a great page out of the playbook with parenting. Kids love playing, let's say, with each other and with parents. And it's important for the parents to convey to the kids, this is playtime. You don't have to be so obvious about it, but maybe so, at least early on. Do you want to play the blah, blah, blah game? And then we're rolling. And then if it works, let's do this for 10 more minutes, and then we have to get ready for dinner. Play. All right, it's 10 minutes. All right. To really convey this is the end of the playtime, and we're on to expectations time. That same thing can happen with learning. We're learning this thing. We're not talking about being on time. We're not talking about how you show each other respect and the teacher. We're not talking about the calendar, which you have to be focused. And I've learned later in life how I would sometimes be playful and make jokes when I was in a place of discomfort. We've learned that as a family, and I've learned that through being a father, that when I was a kid, we would do jokes when there was discomfort, let's say big feelings in the air. And so it gets to your point where it's like, how can you be enthusiastic and playful, where there's also, you want to have a structure and respect. And if you blur these lines, then the kid will be confused, and they won't be able to manage the difference between how to have a good time and love and light with clear expectations. And the kids can do that. We can as adults as well on our jobs. We can do that. But showing them the difference between those energies and knowing the timing of it. Like if anyone is having discomfort, no more play. If anyone is misunderstanding something, I don't get what's going on. Don't make a joke because they might construe it as an attack or a mockery. If anyone is even 1% upset about something, it's not about play. But if we're in a learning mode, having a good time, yeah, talk about what's interesting to you and let it roll from there.
Yeah, that's really good. And is that what connection looks like? Is that piece of mixing
Yeah,
vulnerability? It's
yeah,
my
yeah,
Spanish now.
yeah, yeah.
With connection and just be genuine to each other, but also having those expectations that's all connection. That's the key.
Absolutely. It's true. It's true. The art form is doing it in age appropriate ways. The goal is to connect with the learner, but the way you connect with the kindergarten student, first grade, is way different than the way you connect with the senior in high school. The root level intention is the same. Let's say a vulnerability. Let's use that word. Vulnerability is this act of, let's say, disclosing those things which are important for you, those things that make you either passionate or frustrated, and doing them, though, in a way that is aligned with how that helps the connection. So if a kindergartner's having a tough time putting on her coat, you can say, I remember when my daughter had that same, I get it. Yeah, the zipper's not cooperating. Can I show you something? The zipper's not cooperating. I remembered that, but they did. This is great. This is just like a masterpiece for a little child who's in a state of upset because you're not like, let me do it for you, or don't worry. You're right there. You can even come down to their level. That's a connection, but you're also sharing that you're not alone. Whereas senior in high school, it goes on. It's like, to what extent, and let's say they're talking about some sort of drama that they're having, it's like, to what extent does these types of friendships help your life right now? It seems like it's getting in the way. I could be wrong, and I'm only saying because I've lived it myself. So now you're having a high level discussion and you're saying, I could be wrong. That's an act of vulnerability. And you're inviting the student to talk about how their social world is getting in the way of their learning. Root level concept is to connect, but you're showing yourself through that. And the art is knowing how to do it at various ages. And you're not going to get it right every time
Uh,
from experience there.
yeah.
So connection is the number one thing that the kids they're desperate for this from their educators. They want that the most.
Yeah, I'm teaching secondary school children now, 16-year-olds, we're teaching business and helping them design their very own business. I was in the classroom the other day and I
Oh,
went down a rabbit hole. I went off track completely because I was supposed to teach a certain thing. But then I was talking to this student and I said, what's your idea for the business? I don't know. But like, what's your favorite subject? I don't know. I don't have one. Like, you're finishing school in 2 years. What do you want to do? I don't know. Imagine you're 80 years old now, and you look back in your life and you've completely wasted your life. You're like, oh my God, I'm 80 years old and I've wasted my life. What have you done to waste your life? Let's avoid that first. And then we'll look at how did we not waste our life. And the teacher was like, what are you doing? I just felt like that connection was really strong at that moment. But then I've seen teachers as well where kids are messing and have to go out of the classroom. They're gone straight away.
mm,
Then the student, what happens is the student creates this belief where the teacher hates me.
yeah.
So I hate the teacher. And then they don't want to do anything to do. And they're out. They're not taking part in this business project that we're doing because of
Mm,
that. Is that harmful in the long term? Where do you meet in the middle? Because you don't have time for all these small individual connections with everybody.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
What are
That's
the things,
really
or maybe
tough.
examples you can share of things you've done as a group that work as well, that bring everybody together?
Yeah. That's That's the right approach, because especially as you add more and more students to the room, 20, 25, 30, 35 students in a singular room with all the personalities and all the backgrounds, it's a lot to take on and jostle with. Attunement is really a great way to start. I know many teachers who work on having uh, a no hand raise policy. We say, should you raise your hand when you're having dinner with friends? Sometimes my kids raise their hand at dinner. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Just attune to the energy of the room, what's happening, and listen, and then offer your words at the appropriate time. And that could be an interesting thing, because if everyone's trying to be connected with each other in the room, then they'll feel more of that sense of belonging. It's not 30 independent souls just working on their own thing as if no one else was around. It's a collective energy. I learned this actually at an improv class that I took 2 summers ago. And the warm up activity was stand in a circle and everyone chooses a stretch that is their body is calling to them to do. And they talk about what's on their mind. And while they're doing this stretch, everyone else does the stretch as well. They do that exact one. So they're watching the person and they're listening. And this embodies the type of goal that we have, trying to just be connected to each other. And the more we can do that, the less there's going to be this acting out type of thing. And when there is acting out, let's get to that. I've asked people to leave the room before. It's not my favorite. It's uncomfortable for everyone. It has to be done with total transparency, plenty of warning. It can't be this, get out, that type of thing. It has to be, you knew this would happen. And a lot of chances for the student to correct. So before leave and go to the office, just step outside. That's one way to do it. Really, it's like that, almost there. I'm not going to kick this up the authority ladder and get you in bigger trouble. Let's say, if the word is that. I don't even like the concept of in trouble. You're not where you need to be. You're not meeting the expectations, the energy of the room. But if they step outside and then you come out when you get everyone working and you step out quietly, you're like, what's happening? Like, what am I missing? What do you need? What's going on with you? Help me understand. This type of ally energy, as opposed to this can't continue, or else. Those two in tandem can work well. So effectively establishing collective energy in a room, much like a family or a pack of animals would, we're all aligned. And then also just giving a lot of transparent feedback to a student who's breaking that energy flow. I could talk about that. That's what I do with kids. I talk about energy flows and work to bring that student back into the energy, as opposed to this kind of finalized energy of, you're out. Because that's sad to not include more and more students. It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
I
So
think,
I want to
yeah.
keep them involved.
That's the main difference, I suppose, between punishment and consequences. And they're making their own choices to end up where they're choosing to be, really, and giving them
Yeah.
the opportunity to come back. What are the energy flows?
So yeah, it's really fascinating. I'll tell you this. I often volunteer teach at my kids' schools, or when I go out to speak, I'll do a guest teaching situation with a room of students that I don't know. And sometimes those rooms are really big. Sometimes they're auditorium style. And I do this little experiment and it really works. So if anyone's watching this as an educator, try this. I'll find a volunteer at the front of the room, let's say in the front row, and I'll get their name. Let's say her name is Emily or something. And I'll say, hi, Emily, I'm just going to do a little experiment for everyone to see, and just tell me what it's like for you. Okay. So here we are. How's that feel? And she'll, that pause was intentional. She'll say, it's okay. It's good. And then I'll go like this. Okay. What if I went like this? I turn my whole body away 90 degrees, or even turn my back. And then I come back and I was like, what was that like? She's like, I didn't like that. I was like, and I would say, because I already start to feel that, I say, it was hard to do, even as just a little, I knew I was going to do it and I'm just doing it to prove a point. I'm sorry that I just had this thing with you. And then I went like that. So what we were doing is we were having this kind of moment. We're having an exchange of energy where you're watching me, I'm watching you, and we're having a connection. All of us are doing that now. And so we have to ask ourselves, is what I'm saying or what I'm doing adding to that energy exchange, or is it breaking the energy flow? So if you have something you want to say that's funny, that's awesome. Will it add to the moment, or will it be taking away from someone's energy if they're in the middle of speaking? And then what's interesting is they get it. They get it. The same goes with looking at phones. I say to students of the age who have phones, I would be mortified if we were having dinner and I was looking down at my phone. I would be mortified because that is the ultimate breaking of energy flow. The only exception is, I'm really sorry. My mom is seeing to trying to pick me up. I need to just let her know. I'll be outside in 15 minutes. Okay, I'm sorry. These are skills they need to learn. That's not breaking energy flow. And it really works. And they love it. They love sense of belonging. They do. And it
Yeah.
feels good for us too. They understand what it means. And it's a little foreign for them at first, but they get it right away. It's like they're sensitive.
Yeah, it's really how you build trust with them,
Yeah.
and that empowers them to make choices by themselves, for themselves. They're not doing something because you tell them they need to do that, because they're really learning how they interact with the world and the consequences that they get depending on the choices that they make. That's so empowering. I
That's a
think that's the
great
ultimate
assessment.
goal of, yeah.
That's a great assessment, Maria. Seriously, that was so good. You're right. You're giving them trust to make their own choices. You're not saying these are the like etched in stone expectations of the class, or else raise your hand to talk. Don't talk over other people. It's not about don't talk over other people because that's the rules. It's because it's breaking of a human value. And that's more important than teaching them math. That's the point.
Why do they not teach that in college? All the teachers. Why?
Yeah. I think they're trying to. I don't know. There's a lot of talk about it now, about these emotional skills
Yeah.
in the world of AI, that these human skills are becoming more and more at a premium.
What do you think are the most important skills to develop, knowing the world that's growing right now?
I would say communication skills, emotional, like everything under like a EQ, let's say reading the room, knowing when you've outworn your welcome, knowing when someone's upset, knowing when to apologize, knowing when someone's upset and what to do as a result of that, self-advocacy. Those are big. We'd had a big talk about that for the ninth graders coming into high school, is about this act of self-advocating, when saying something to the simple effect of, I was able to do the first 3 problems, then I was lost. That's huge. If you get a 13, 14-year-old to say that, that's great. And to do it with neutrality. I was lost after the 4th problem. Oh, what? This is a huge victory. As opposed to, Mr. Dude, I don't understand anything. I don't know what I'm doing. Like that kind of thing. It's cute. It makes me laugh. Of course. Mr. Dude, this homework was so hard. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I think it's like, if they're not serious, it's cool. If they're communicating them kind of they're effusive is the word. If they're just up there, I don't know. But if they're like that, if they're in shutty down mode, then, maybe like lower the temperature a bit. Be like, I'm struggling with number 4. That's great. That's great. I learned that. I'll tell you this, just a quick story. I wasn't always a teacher. I was in software. I got my degree in computer science. My first job was a programming job. I was 21, 22 years old. And I was given this piece of code to work on, and I finished it. And then I was just like kind of sitting there. I didn't know. It was my first job. And I went to the boss and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what you want me to do. And he's like, thank you so much. He said, like, all the people your age don't do that. And I didn't know that was such a huge victory for him. They just were like, what am I supposed to do? And like, they got uncomfortable. Am I doing something wrong or something like that? Conceivably, I said something that would undermine my position. I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, you think that, oh my God, man, maybe I'll fire you because you don't know anything. But I don't know. I just felt like he wants me to do something. So I wasn't threatened by saying, I don't know what I'm doing. So that type of thing, that's an emotional skill. And if they have a security a foundation for that, that's important, that they'll still be loved, still be accepted, still be honored. They won't be convinced out of their feelings. Then they can experiment with this type of language. They can put themselves out there. I don't know how to do this. I'm lost. I'm frustrated. I'm mad, and embrace the full spectrum of human emotions. This is way more important than teaching radicals and quadratic formula. Right? It's just radicals and quadratic formula are my chance to teach them the human skills. It's my
Yeah. Yeah. It's
yeah.
having like a goal and then using all the skills to get to that goal.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Right. It's almost like a game. Like
Mm.
we're doing it through a game with a little backdrop of high school grades pressure, So there's some stakes
Yeah.
to the game, right? So that really allows the student to focus and put their best effort. And then as a result, when they reach the mountaintop, then they say, oh, I could do this for harder things and newer things. And I feel better about myself as a result.
And it's funny because all these things are the opposite of everything traditional school is teaching.
Go on.
I feel like they need to know emotional regulation, but they can't speak when they think it's the right time to speak. They have to put their hand up, and if there is no time for that, they're not going to be able to speak at all. Or we're too busy because of the contents and the pressure of curriculum and all these things to
Yeah.
actually stop and pause if there is a conflict between 2, 3, 5 children and solve the problem and learn communication through solving that conflict and letting them have a voice and opinions and about what happened and everything, and use that as learning communication, learning social skills, empathy, all of this resilience, all of these things, because we're too busy trying to get all the through all the contents from the curriculum. And
Yeah.
yet we want children to be independent and to be creative and to think outside the box and to be confident and all of these things, but we're not giving time to develop those skills.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, we have to start talking about the leadership. Leadership's important in this. If an administrator, a department chair, principal, head of school, these are the people that need to set the tone for the teachers, the educators to succeed. And you can make the case that if you are trying to do, let's say, 10 pieces of curriculum, right? Let's say 10 units, just picking a random number. Let's say that would be the sweet spot. So that means 12 is too much. I would say many teachers believe that they're asked to do 12 units of things when 10 would be the max. And 9 would be even better because then they have wiggle room to let's have class outside today. Getting back to those things, or some sort of connective team building thing once in a while, like the Friday before break, all those things. And it's really incumbent upon the leaders to come through for those teachers, because there's only so much a teacher can do. And or at least find ways creatively to get through those 12 units. How can that work? What does that look like? An additional meeting per week with some sort of bonus compensation? Is there something we can do with that? Is that breaking the room into different thirds? It's like this third is really hard charging and knows what it's doing, and they can self-manage through video content while I work with these 2/3. So all these decisions are leadership decisions. You can't just throw the teacher on an island, throw a computer and a whiteboard marker and say, see you in 55 minutes, pop, slam the door. So you're right. So there's so much there are many traditional environments that are doing really well. And I would say that virtually all of the time, it's because they have wise and compassionate leaders. So the traditional concept isn't necessarily the problem, because a student in the 40s must have had a great math teacher. I'm sure. Great math teacher in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 20s. There might have been
Yeah.
some,
We
that,
can't blame the circumstances.
yeah. Yeah, but the circumstances are a challenge that needs to be overcome by the leaders. And that's why the leaders are put where they are. That's why they make more money. their job is to look out for the teachers so the teachers can do the job better. So that is a really important part of the conversation.
Yeah. So knowing everything that you know now, what would you say to your younger self that's just starting as a teacher right now?
I would say definitely try to have as much fun as possible. I would say get organized. I got better. I'm laughing because I wouldn't submit my grades on time. It was also a life circumstance. I was still in the single days, so I was just trying to have a good time, meet people, all that stuff. And a lot of the things, honestly, I don't know if I could have learned them as fast. I wasn't uncomfortable with silence. I am now. I don't know. You could only learn that 20 years of life. So I would just say try to really connect with the students, relish the moment, have fun, and milk the energy. I would have a lot of energy in my 20s, sure, but I would also like eat dinner in front of the TV, fall asleep on the couch, wake up at 1, and then like stumble to the bed, and then get up for at 7 to get to class at 8. So that type of discipline, I think I didn't learn. I didn't know. So I still had enough fuel to do it well, but imagine if I was well rested, who knows how that would go, how much more effective I would have been. So yeah, things like that, discipline and time management, those types of things that I've learned over the years.
Yeah. But as you said, if we knew that 20 years ago, then what's left to learn?
Yeah,
So I
right.
suppose that.
Yeah, youth is wasted on the young, as they say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. You wrote a book. Why did you write a book? What was your mission with the book and what message did you want to leave with that book?
Yes, the mission with the book was I realized I originally was going to write a book about how to inspire a classroom, one on many. And then I realized that when you really dial in, the inspiration of a classroom comes from the inspiration of each individual kid. And that the inspiration that I was offering was that I was having moments with each student. And those moments were exchanges. And I've always been just very sensitive. I can tell when someone doesn't understand something. I could tell if they might be upset. And the magic between that one-on-one moment is what inspires the whole room because I'm having these individual things. And a lot of people can't even know what's going on. They don't see what's happening. Like when a student looks at you, what you're supposed to do, like, let's say they're thinking, have you ever seen a student do this? They're thinking, I think it's 4 times X. And they look at you. What do? Right? You can be this invitational energy. And I'm not saying like yes or no or anything or not doing that if they got it wrong. What if it was negative 4 times X? I won't go. Right? That kind of thing. And then they get it. And then you say something to the effect of, so I understand why you said 4X. Can we talk about how it's partially correct?
Mm.
You see in that sentence, that was 3 units of connection. I understand why you said 4X. Can we talk about? So I'm asking permission. I'm giving you the power why it's partially correct, not wrong. That's 3 units of build in one sentence. This just makes me so happy. That level of service that you give a child. And so now they're wondering which part was correct. They're saying, yes, they're giving you the green light. Sure, we can talk about it. And they feel seen and heard. I understand why you said 4X because it was close. The answer was really negative 4X, but we can talk about why. And so in this, we talk about why. Super light. You're fine as you are. You did nothing wrong. You're okay. And then moving on. So you understand? Great. Okay, so let's do that another time. Yes, your question. Now on to another person. Yes, I told you to remember what your question was. Do you have it remembered? Right, that was another thing. Please don't forget your question. This is connective when you couldn't get to that person. So that was the impetus behind the book, is creating this playbook of how you can use your words, your body language, your silence, the moment, humor to serve the student and bring about their best learning and have them feel connected as a result. And I think of it as an art form. That's why it's the art of inspired connection. I think of it as an art. That's why one of the chapters is every master teaching tool with tape over your mouth. Like, what could a teacher do? If I had tape over my mouth, how could I get through to a student? So You could do things like higher, and then ask the student to go higher, and then use it bigger or smaller. And then you can go, well done. I have tape over my mouth. Pretending I have tape over my mouth. What could I do? Or like, you've been working really hard. I see you. I
Mm.
see you working really hard. Or like, you got it. After all, like I said, attempt, fail, attempt, fail, attempt, fail, attempt, fail. You got it that time. So that was the reason. It's like every classroom connection moment is boiled down to individual connection moments. And that's great for parenting. It's great for employers too. Anyone who needs to train anyone out on the job, if that person is nervous, they'll learn a new software, new system, new something, how to work the cash register, anything, how you exchange with that. It's like, it's okay. I totally got this wrong too. Well, that was a connected moment right there.
Yeah, noticing those is so empowering, and it goes back to developing skills, and it's up to the adult to create that safe space for the child to empower them, focus on the positive, not on what's partially correct, not what's wrong.
Yeah.
And that creates that safe space where it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay because we're learning from it. That's really powerful. I'd like to talk about what are your thoughts on homework?
Yeah. Homework is on the hot seat, isn't it? Worldwide. I've always been a fan of not a lot. And you're saying primary school, that's elementary school. Is that the idea?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Uh, I would say I like a lot of what they're doing is limiting to reading 20 minutes a night, something like that, to develop a love of reading. Anything you want to read with little summary writings to offer something tangible back to the teacher. I like a minimal amount, minimal. Some people say no, some people say a lot. I think a small amount. And I also like doing it at a weekly cadence. So you give them this, let's say, a minimal amount, and it's due in a week.
Time
Let's say,
management.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And also acknowledging that the students are programmed. My own daughters have dance team, basketball team, and chill out time, feel like it right now, all those things. So giving them that latitude, I think, is a good life skill in the context of homework, and not kind of living and breathing by homework dogma. This one time I gave a test, right? It was a Friday, and I just saw them, and I put it down, and they're all like, yes, right? So that's the kind of stuff that sticks out. It's not a ironclad rule homework. It's supposed to be fluid, malleable, not to live and die by it, but it's just a tool, and you can decide as you go. But I like small amounts. And in high school, you could do 8 problems is sufficient compared to 16. Big fan of that. Less is more, and do it well.
Yeah, quality over quantity.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mentioned earlier, my son now starts saying, I hate maths, and trying to change his mindset. And you said it could be fear of not knowing. And I
Like
think it links with
oftentimes,
the example you
go ahead.
shared about your neighbor as well, did that, feeling embarrassed because my child doesn't know. And it's that fear of not knowing, fear of judgment or
Yes, right. A good example is asking the student what 5 plus 5 is. Let's say someone is having trouble with a certain math problem, and they can't do it. And I'm like, I hate this stuff. I don't like it. And I would say, what's 5 plus 5? And they say 10. I say, do you hate that 5 plus 5 is 10? And inevitably they say no. They don't hate that 5 plus 5 is 10. So then you're saying you just did a math problem fine without necessarily hating it. So it's not the math itself that you hate. You hate that you don't know how to do it. If you knew how to do it, you might hate it a lot less. And that is something that's lost on so many people. They connect their identity with their ability or lack thereof to do the work. It's so important for us to disconnect those. Like I did with Mitch. I always saw Mitch as a lovely human who was just not into the math so much, but that wasn't a judgment on his overall life ability or his career prospects, or if he's going to be slumming it his whole life. And so conveying that to your son in the age appropriate way is great. And you did that. I saw your post on that. Acknowledge his feelings. Don't try to convince him out of the feelings. say, well, is there something we can do? Can we make this problem easier so that you could see it and then build it back up to this? So if it's 23 times 4, I was having trouble with just making up a number. 23 times 4 is trouble. What about 20 times 4? What about 2 times 4? And bring it back down to earth and then build it back up to those things and empowering. So how much do you want to do before we stop and take a break? And then if he's not into it, like, how about up to number 5? Then you offer. But first, give him a chance to have the latitude and to have the patience, have the fortitude to just let him have the feeling. And it's okay. I get it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I understand that's how you feel. Thank you for telling me. So you want to get through these few things and then go outside? So just managing until maybe in a month, maybe in a year, maybe in 5 years, something will come along that's like, ooh, are you saying that you could go below sea level? That a mountain is, our canyon is negative 300 feet below sea level? That's strange. Yeah, we were there. Remember, we went down. That's it. That's a chink in the armor.
Curiosity.
And you bided the time. You waited until that happened. The best part is that you staved off that he can't do it. That was the thing. By acknowledging the feelings, it's not that he's bad at it. It's just that he may not like it. That's okay. That's okay. The worst thing is like, I can't do this, and they feel despair. That is the way to stay. You got to get away from that. But otherwise, we can live with people who don't like. I mean, there's people who don't like to write poetry. There's people who don't like chemistry. I mean, oh, it's okay, but they may later. Yeah.
And that's the power of language. It's so, so important. Those words
Yeah.
rephrase them from you don't like math to you don't like doing new things. So let's break it down. Makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And then, it'll bring you closer to him
Mm.
because he'll be seen. And so one day and later on, if he comes home and he cries because everyone in the class understands something, you've opened the door to him being able to do that with you. And then you could say, let's understand everything we need to piece by piece so that you don't have this feeling anymore. I'll be there for you. We'll get through it. That's what love is. This is love. And now you're teaching him how to love. So it's again, the math is but a reason to love and a reason, a chance to overcome something. And so the connection that exists between the two of you is the most important thing where you could come to. And I'll do this funny story. My daughter, I have 2 daughters. One loves it, one hates it. Okay. We have empowered the younger one who hates it. She has these packets. These packets are filled with math and reading and stuff like that. And when she's done, she's like, I hate this. And she'll throw it up in the air like this big flurry. She's like, ha ha. She's in 4th grade. Ha ha ha. Learning about the space station. I don't really care. Like that. This is boring. I don't care about the space station. And she'll throw it up in the flurry when she's done, And then sometimes she'll forget to do it. And I'm like, she's like, yeah, oh yeah. Wow. And so it's good to get that emotion out. She doesn't like it. She's not into it. She doesn't like sitting there all day at a desk. I get it. I feel her. And she tolerates it because she has that sort of innate discipline. But she just likes recess and lunch and playing with her friends. She doesn't like the schooling. So we just see her, we acknowledge it, we open the door to conversation, let her get that emotion out. Don't bottle it in. Cry sometimes. This will lead the way to some form of breakthrough one way or the other, where she's not isolated from us. So she's talking, opening up. And then that's when the breakthrough can happen and she could find her equivalent passionate thing that may or may not involve lots of numeric thinking.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. You talked about, I think it links with these as well, conditions that make children excited to learn.
Yes.
How would you define those? Was it like a checklist, or is there anything that we need to go through, or teachers or parents, to create the environment for children to thrive and want to learn?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, first we have to remove blockages. That's the first thing. So I have a 0 tolerance policy for eye rolls in the learning space. So if a student does this, like, we stop everything. What's going on? Are you upset about something? Is something bothering you? What am I missing? What do I need to know? Eye rolls, which are a symbol of resent. Resent stops learning cold. Resent is a learning killer. And I was about to say that I am appalled that I'm sure teachers are going through lots of different things, but they are in classroom spaces that are seething with resent. The students resent the space, they resent the teacher. If only they would understand something. I think I'm the only teacher that is willing to say, like, hey, teacher, you need to improve your craft a little. If you have a room full of kids that resent you, you got to do something about it. How can I help you? We could say, and then watch, they'll talk, like they would give you the grievances. And I'm telling you, a lot of the grievances are well-founded. So setting them up to be enthusiastic, we have to remove the blockages to it. Do they feel like they can speak to us freely without having to watch their back, or that we're going to get them in a gotcha moment? Do they feel like we're trying to trick them ever? That's a poll that I would ask every teacher to do. Everyone that's in front of students of age, say, raise your hands if you've ever had a teacher try to trick you. Just watch as those hands go up. Watch. And if there's any sort of deception energy within a learning space, the castle walls will be closed. It's really about getting out of the way than it is about doing something. Because if you've ever seen a kid play or interact, they're like subatomic particles around the nucleus. They're just crazy like that. They just go wow.
Yeah.
They run around, they're curious, they're establishing rules, they're playing games, they're holding each other to rules, they're building, they're breaking, they're trying it again, all those things. It's because we're not there to ruin it. We're not there to get in the way. And so I would reframe it as, how can we get out of the way and let that inner light come to the surface? These are conditions where you can experiment. These are conditions where you can play. These are conditions where you can ask questions. These are conditions where you can disagree. These are conditions where you can confess something and not feel the wrath, and then everything flows from there.
Yeah, I love that. It makes it so simple, not easy, because it's simple because it's just removing things. It's not adding things, it's removing things. But it's not easy because those things are probably habits or things it's not easy to remove those things. It just takes a bit of awareness and noticing them, and then creating that space with them. That's really empowering. So I'd like to ask you, just as we finish, I talk for hours and hours.
Thank you. This is nice.
But anyone listening now, what are the most important things? Say, I really want to make a difference. I really want to change the connection I have with my children, whether it's at home or in the classroom. What's the one action I can take from right now based on this conversation?
If it's going to be one thing, it would have to be this encompassing intention. And the intention is both spoken and not spoken, physical and metaphysical, is this concept of advocacy for the student, advocating for what's in the student's best interest. So it could start with something as basic as, I want nothing more than for you to be successful at this. And I want to do everything I can to help you be successful. Will you also tell me what you need and participate in that? That way we can team up for you to be really successful in this. And then advocacy can go to things that are seemingly less direct. We had classrooms where they were really hot sometimes, and the school ordered portable air conditioning units. I would walk in and I would be like, oh, no, we can't do this. We can't. So I said, all right, everyone, just take it easy. I'm going to call the office. So she called the office on the cell. Like, can you please bring the air conditioning? We can't learn like this. So they see that I care for the conditions of which they're learning. Advocacy is also not always saying yes. It's like, can we, Mr. Dude, it's raining. Do we have to do work today? That kind of thing. It's like, no, we have a lot to do. So I'm advocating on the fact that we're staying on schedule. And they know. That's the beauty. The one answer to your question is, if we can convey to them both explicitly and implicitly that we're advocating for them, we know that they know. You can tell, oh yeah, this person definitely has my best interest at heart. This person will advocate for me. This person will stand up for me. This person will say no when necessary and has earned the credibility to do so. You have credibility when you say no. It's because they know that you're doing something to help them, not to hurt them or punish. I love your concept of consequence versus punishment. Love that. I'm going to think about that more, right? That the advocacy is sticking to the program, sticking to the expectations, to the rules, because it's in your best interest, and also not making it about us. That's also advocacy. Yeah. Okay. So I'm tired. Doesn't matter to the student. I still have responsibilities. I couldn't get to the grading because I had a baby waking up last night. I'm really tired and I'm sorry. I know I said they'd be done today. I'm really going to bear down and prioritize and do them tomorrow. So see that I'm advocating. I know you want those grades back. I know you want the tests back. And the only reason I couldn't do it is because I was up all night with this is a new time in my life. So I'm advocating for you, even though, I'm taking responsibility. So as opposed to like, no, like you breaking promises is totally breaking of advocacy, breaking commitments. It's horrible. So I think everything boils back to that. The kids knowing that you have their best interests at heart.
Yeah. The consistency, integrity, letting them know that we care so they know, and following through with actions.
Yes, that are
Yeah.
consistent and predictable. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And again, it's simple. It's simple. We overcomplicate ourselves. Back to basics.
Hmm.
Build connection and create those magic moments and special moments with each one of them, because it is possible. It's about the attitude and the perspective and creating that safe environment, and everybody can be happy and bring more joy and play.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. It is simple, not easy to do, but the formula is simple ingredients like a beautiful cooking dish. It's just simple
Like the
ingredients.
broccoli.
Like the broccoli, right? All it needs is olive oil. It's a simple ingredient. It's a
Yeah,
world renowned simple ingredient, but it adds a lot of
and
like
richness.
richness. Wow, good job. Yeah. Richness to the offering. Yeah, cream, something simple. It's not magic, but it tastes like magic.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was so inspiring.
Thank
So,
you
so
so much for
inspiring.
having me. Thank you. I appreciate your time, Maria. This was a beautiful time, and I'm just so happy to meet you and now be able to follow your work now as a result.
Yeah, same to you. Same. Thank you so much.